Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, loyals of TV47. It's always good having you. Thanks for always staying loyal to us. And tonight, like just every other Tuesday, is that night of the People's Court. It is the daily report. By extension, it is the People's Court. So the People's Court is likely about discussing concerns that are of importance to you and me. We take a look at the current affairs and, of course, definitely get to just unpack them, with able voices that, help us, just look at different views and different spectrums of this particular concern. I'll be telling you shortly what it is that we look at. But as always, the Star newspaper tomorrow morning. What do you expect? Spotlight on Ruto's team's confidential expenditure. Definitely one that has been a bone of contention right here in the country. Mining and lands among those with secret votes. That's basically what you will be getting on the Star tomorrow. Definitely so much of politics. Gachagua members of parliament hit out at NCIC over warning on incitement. A lot of incitement in the country. And this you will get to see, especially in the social media platforms. And tonight, we focus on that very matter of the social media. And of course, we open the lines for you to speak to us. The hashtag, as always, is the People's Court, as well as the daily report. I'll be looking at some of your comments as we get to continue. The lines are open for you to call us. 22047 is the SMS short code. I'll also be looking at the comments that you sent from there. Victor Muyakane is not with me tonight, as you have or might have noticed, but of course the show must continue and the house is full. I'll be introducing my guests shortly. So what are we looking at tonight? Citizen journalism that is facilitated by the social media, and over time this has proven persuasive in Kenya, and of course looking at how it has worked, that is to change or as well influence opinions regarding political views. In that space lies abundance of ideas, thoughts and opinions, and this have been utilized in Kenya's political space. That's basically what we'll be looking at. We continue to figure out the place of social media in our politics as we establish some of the opportunities as well as the limitations that lie therein, that is under the digital platforms, especially how they are used to mobilize, to monitor, to respond, as well as prevent violence, as well as also their usage in peace building. Is it at all counting in terms of peace building right here in the country? Tonight on the People's Court, like I have said, we advance this conversation on the social media politics with able guests. Some of them you have seen here. I'll be introducing them shortly. And we ask you a very simple question. Just how can we make good use of the social media to play positive politics right here in the country? My name is Linda Alela. I'll be assisted by Catherine Simaloi, that is on the sign language interpreter's side. But before we get to that, we must tell you what is in the world of news. Here are the top stories. Top on news. Auditor General Nancy Gathungu defends her report on the Social Health Authority SHA system, questioning the use of billions to operate the system.
We have issues that are raised on procurement of the healthcare information technology.
This comes as President Ruto refutes claims that the Kenyan government spent a staggering 104 billion shillings to procure the SHA system.
We are firm, we are focused, because we want a country where healthcare is not the preserve of the rich and those who can afford.
Some civil servants receive notifications that the government has yet to process their SHA remittances, as President Ruto highlights that the Social Health Insurance Fund SHIF successfully covered 9 million Kenya shillings hospital bill for the late Malava Member of Parliament Malulu Injendi. Also tonight, Kenya Power CEO Engineer Joseph Siror accuses Nairobi City County of escalating tensions by dumping garbage at Steamer Plaza, despite his earlier efforts to engage them before the incident.
Finally, as a last case scenario, a written demand notice may be issued, followed by the actual interruption of supply in response.
All right, and we go straight to it. Tonight, President William Ruto has denied a report by the Office of the Auditor General that the government lost 104.8 billion shillings to procure the Social Health Authority system, SHA. Instead, President Ruto blamed fraudsters, whom he said used to loot the now defunct National Hospital Insurance Fund, NHIF, and are unable to do so under his watch. Apollo Kamau then reports on a day Auditor General Nancy Gathungu told Parliament to take action on those behind SHA technology illegalities.
An expose by the Auditor General on the illegal procurement of the Social Health Authority SHA technology system at a cost of 104.8 billion shillings has set tongues wagging in the government, with President William Ruto, who attended the burial of Malava MP Malulu Ijendi in Kakamega, saying no money has been lost in the consortium formed by the government to protect SHA from fraudsters.
Hii makelele munasikia kwa hii mitandao na nini ni watu ambao walikuwa wanaibia sisi siku ya NHIF. These are brokers. Iko sijui iko shida. Hata niliona juzi wakisema ati serikali itatumia bilioni 100 ati kwa system. Hakuna senti ya serikali itatumiwa kulipa system yeyote.
But in Parliament, Auditor General Nancy Gathungu, who appeared before the Senate's County Public Accounts Committee, stood by her report that exposed the flawed procurement process, telling Parliament to take action on her report. This is after senators pushed for the technology tender to be cancelled, calling it a criminal enterprise.
Can we agree before this committee that we want to terminate that contract, and what are going to be the consequences? Because we can't continue to allow people to enjoy proceeds of crime. Let's just declare this SHA and SHIF a criminal enterprise, and we'll close it today and face the consequences in those courts of arbitration. What else are we waiting for? Shouldn't we then be asking for administrative action, for people to be fired, for people to be investigated, for people to be arraigned in court?
Parliament or the County Assembly debate and consider the report of the Auditor General and take appropriate action. So if we start from there, then we can agree that every institution has a role and mandate.
In her report, Gathungu says the government does not control the system or own the intellectual property rights, raising concerns on the risk it poses to taxpayers' hard-earned cash and the healthcare delivery now in a crisis.
We have issues that are raised on procurement of the healthcare information technology digitization system. And I have raised issues concerning the budget for the procurement, which was not in place. I have raised issues on uncompetitive procurement.
According to the report, the project, which was not subjected to competitive bidding, was excluded from the procurement plan and medium-term budgetary expenditure framework, violating Section 53(7) of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act of 2015. Apollo Kamau, TV47.
Extensive report there by Apollo Kamau, and as the president would say, hiyo kelele ya mitandao. Basically, mitandao is what we discussed tonight and the politics right there in. Now, President William Ruto and other Kenya Kwanza leaders have once again taken aim at the media, accusing it of misreporting key government programs. Speaking at the burial of Malava Member of Parliament Malulu Ijendi in Lugusi Village, Malava constituency, they dismissed claims that challenging the Affordable Housing Initiative, the newly established Social Health Authority SHA, and the university funding model. The leaders insisted that the media was misleading the public about the government's efforts to improve key sectors, as Violet Auma details.
Speaking at the event, President Ruto and other Kenya Kwanza leaders condemned what they described as biased and negative reporting on the government programs.
Tukasema we are going to have a consortium of technology companies that is going to make sure that there are no fraudulent claims in SHA.
The president alleging that critics of the SHA were individuals who had previously benefited from fraudulent dealings within the now defunct National Health Insurance Fund, NHIF.
The people who are complaining are the fellows who have been stealing from us. They don't want a technology system that works. Hakuna tena pesa ya umma itafujwa kwa mitandao, hata mujaze makaseti, makaratasi na nini marangapi. Ati ndio mutulazimishe turudi nyuma kule kwa NHIF muendelee na kuiba. Yawezekani.
The leaders urged Kenyans to register in large numbers for SHA, emphasizing that the fund was functional and had already covered the late MP's hospital bill.
Mujiandikishe ili muweze kubenefit. Kwa sababu unajua hata wewe ukienda kununua kiatu mpya itafinya mguu kuliko ile kiatu ya zamani. Alafu utaanza kufikiri ile kiatu ya zamani ndio mzuri.
Don't listen to the disinformation and misinformation being perpetuated.
Unasema hii kitu sisi tulisikia haifanyi. Na kuna Mkenya amenyamaza mahali, yeye anaenda hospitali wakati amegonjeka analipiwa bill.
On the controversial affordable housing project, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi reassured Kenyans that the government was legally mandated to issue sectional titles to homeowners, dismissing recent reports casting doubt on the program's credibility.
Even if you're on the 5th floor, the law is there to allow the government of Kenya to give you a sectional title. Kwa hivyo, hiyo ilikuwa porojo ya kujaribu kumwaga maji baridi kwa huu mpango wa housing.
During the event, President Ruto also called on the commission tasked with reconstituting the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, to expedite its work and ensure by-elections, including in Malava, are conducted without delay. Leaders at the funeral eulogized Malulu Injendi, who served as the Vice Chair of the National Assembly's Education Committee, praising his contribution to education sector. Kakamega Governor Fernandez Baraza and Ikolomani MP Bernard Shinali urged the government to complete projects initiated by the late MP in his honor, with Barasa further advocating for the passage of a bill to support village elders.
Wafanikishe yule mswada ambao mheshimiwa alikuwa nao wa kuhakikisha wale village elders wetu wanaweza pia kuangaliwa na kutambulika katika serikali kuu.
Violet Auma, TV47.
For a week, essential healthcare services under the Social Health Authority SHA have remained suspended, with the Rural Private Hospitals Association RUFA and the Kenya Association of Private Hospitals CAF citing a major funding shortfall as the reason. And healthcare providers say that Primary Healthcare Fund is severely underfunded, impacting service delivery as well as training hospital capacities, that is including staffing levels. As the crisis deepens, RUFA and CAF were grilled by Parliament over their role in the impasse. Elizabeth Atieno with the details of that.
Tuesday, the Kenya Association of Private Facilities CAF and the Rural and Urban Private Hospitals Association RUFA appeared before the Parliamentary Health Committee to discuss the indefinite suspension of services under SHA over the contested 30 billion Kenya shillings debt accrued from the defunct NHIF.
There is a general misconception that in as long as SHA is paid, the old NHIF debt can wait. But our members are owed significant amounts of money, in hundreds of millions.
Healthcare providers have argued that the Social Health Insurance Fund, SHIF, only covers levels 4 to 6 facilities, which makes up just 9% of healthcare facilities in Kenya. The SHIF Fund also does not cover outpatient services. Meanwhile, the Primary Healthcare Fund, which supports 91% of facilities in the country, has been facing a significant financial shortfall, with the last disbursement of funds occurring in November of the previous year.
SHIF is paying some of the money, but the Public Servants Fund or scheme is not paying as well.
RUFA and CAF providers say the delayed disbursement of funds for the primary health care is the main reason behind the suspension of SHA services that has lasted for 8 days now, forcing patients to pay out of pocket. Since the launch of SHA in October, only 50% of claims have been paid, amounting to 20.1 billion Kenya shillings.
How are we going to compensate providers that have been treating Kenyans using the old NHIF capitation?
Another key barrier to primary healthcare is that services under SHA are limited to sub-county levels. Legislators now agreeing with health providers that the 160 out of the 315 primary healthcare networks should be put in place at the national level.
We are concerned that this will disincentivize investments in counties which have lower population.
Let's make it a national fund so that you don't change somebody away because in Nairobi because they come from Nakuru County.
According to RUFA, 82% of hospitals have scaled down operations, with 51% of clinics, dental and eye units closed down. 86% of hospitals have also laid off staff. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47, Nairobi.
Still on health, the Union of Kenya Civil Servants, UKCS, and the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, KMPDU, have issued a 2-week strike notice demanding that civil servants' medical bills be fully covered under the Social Health Authority, that is SHA. The union argue that the current system leaves workers struggling to pay for the essential health care. If their demands are not met, the strike is set to begin on March the 18th, 2025.
Message received by a civil servant from SHA paints a clear picture that their medical payment bill under the Social Health Authority are not being paid. The civil servants from the Union of Kenya Civil Servants have raised concern over the failure of payment of their medical bills under the Social Health Authority, despite being deducted a 2.7% to shift and a forfeiture of medical allowance to the Public Offices Medical Fund.
The medical allowance for all the civil servants in the country is being directed to, together with the contributions from the state reduction of Social Health Authority. So essentially, public servants here, the civil servants, are contributing twice. They forfeited their medical allowance, and at the same time, they're contributing 2.75%.
The Secretary General for the Union of Kenya Civil Servants, Tom Odege, has expressed concerns over the efficiency of SHA and its leadership, and noted that the civil servants have to pay money from their pocket as money from the medical scheme is not going to SHA.
We must look at SHA holistically. Yes. If you go outside there, the demand we should make as Kenyans, the money we have contributed to SHA so far, we should demand for accountability.
The two unions have issued a 2-strike notice on the 18th March 2025 if their demands are not met, and to further escalate the matter to a national strike in the next 30 days to demand for functional comprehensive medical insurance.
The Union of Kenya Civil Servants and Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union have today, in a singular voice, give the government 2 weeks to resolve any challenges that are there with the comprehensive medical scheme of the civil servants.
However, the President and other delegates still support the Social Health Authority. Anastasia Mkabi, TV47, Nairobi.
Universal Health Coverage UHC workers from across the country took to the streets in a massive demonstration demanding the government's address their grievances. Among their key concerns are permanent employment, unpaid gratuity and unremitted NSSF deductions. The workers have warned that if their demands are not met, they will push for the resignation of Health CS Deborah Baraza. Anastasia Mukabi once again with that.
Over 8,000 UHC staff have suspended their services countrywide, demanding that the national government addresses their grievances. Rewrite marching in Nairobi County with the procession from the Ministry of Health, the Parliament buildings. The UHC workers called on the Central Organization of Trade Unions to intervene, citing violation of their labor and social welfare rights.
Tunataka gratuity, tunataka to be converted to PNP. We served when everybody was at home. We were risking our lives. Our members, our fellow colleagues died. Others have died of depression, but they are still here telling us that they can do without us. We are asking if they can do without us. Mbona wanatupea show cause?
Tunataka kuomba atuoni kama ni kweli yeye ni katibu mkuu wa KOTU vile anasema asimame na watu wa UHC.
With placards, the protesters were joined by a section of members of parliament who urged the government to address the health workers' grievances to solve the patients' agony.
Kucheza na maisha ya wananchi, hiyo tumekataa. Kucheza na hali ya maisha ya wananchi tumekataa.
Tutasimama na nyinyi hapa ndani. Kama ni amendment tutasimamia. Kama ni kusema huyu waziri atoke kazi tutasimamia.
Leaders from various health workers' unions also joined the demonstrations, condemning the government for discriminating against UHC workers. They urged the government to honor its promises of facilitating the absorption of UHC staff into permanent employment.
And the county governments have asked that the ministry should ask for money, harmonize your pay, and then now they can transfer your payroll so that you absorb with the salary that is equivalent to the other.
Hii nyumba isafi. Hii nyumba ifanye nini? Kama Deborah hata confirm UHC officers pia enda nyumba.
In Migori County, majority of residents have been seeking medical services in private and mission hospitals since Monday when the medics went on strike. This is following the breach of the Memorandum of Understanding that they had with Migori County government on December 2024.
Meetings we've had today, we've resorted that each and every party to go back and consult. It's not our wish, and we are not happy also to be out denying the Migori population such essential services of healthcare provision.
Anastasia Mkabi, TV47.
All right, now shift from matters health. And the Ministry of Labor has announced a major recruitment drive at Jesus Winner Ministry in Roysambu, set for Wednesday and Thursday this week. This follows President William Ruto's recent pledge to expand labor mobility and create overseas job opportunities for the church's youth. However, the recruitment comes amid growing controversy, with some youth online threatening to occupy Bishop Mwai's church, questioning the source of the 20 million Kenyan shillings donation that is from the president and the promised 100 million Kenyan shillings in kind. Micah Gungu reports.
Hours after the head of state promised to offer overseas jobs for the youth, with a recruitment drive expected to be held at the Jesus Winner Ministry Church in Roysambu. Through the Kazi Maju program, Labour Cabinet Secretary Alfred Mutua has unveiled a new hiring effort. In a letter dated March 4, 2025, the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection Cabinet Secretary says there will be a recruitment exercise at the venue in Roysambu, Nairobi County on Wednesday, March 5th and March 6th, 2025 from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. One of the job categories that has openings include that of degree-holding nurses. They are expected to be hired for positions in Australia, Dubai, Qatar, Saudi Arabia and Germany. Others are drivers who are in hold of driving license, ex-GCC license holders highly encouraged to register, and delivery riders in United Arab Emirates, UAE. Additional job openings include those in the hospitality industry, such as waiters and waitresses, stewards and chefs, seafarers and cruise ship jobs, as well as construction workers including masons, carpenters, scaffolders, electricians, plumbers and construction assistants. Mutua says those successfully recruited will receive passports within a day or two. Financial support options will also be provided for those who cannot afford procession fees. Visas, medical tests and tickets, while accommodation, insurance, transport and overtime will be provided for selected jobs. He has emphasized that the initiative aligns with the government's commitment to providing meaningful employment to Kenyans, while ensuring fair terms and conditions of work. The mass recruitment follows a threat from a group of youth on the internet to storm the Bishop Moi-led church following President William Ruto's 20 million shillings donation and his pledge of an additional 100 million shillings in kind. The young people chastised Ruto for what they said were misguided priorities and vowed to demonstrate against the president's move on Sunday. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
And now to this unfortunate piece. Jean Intveld, popularly known as Mzungu, has been sentenced to 10 years in prison after being found guilty of exposing minors to pornographic videos. The Dutch national, who was arrested in 2023 at JKIA while attempting to flee the country, has also been ordered to pay 1 million shillings in compensation to each of the 3 victims. After serving his sentence, he will be deported.
Janiveld, also known as Mzungu, will serve 10 years in prison after being found guilty of exposing minors to pornographic videos. Mzungu, who is also popularly known as Teacher Jan, Dad and Mzungu, was found guilty of 6 counts of child pornography, 2 counts of sexual communication with a child, 1 count of an indecent act with a child, and 1 count of child abuse. These offences occurred between April 2022 and November 2023. The sentence was pronounced by Magistrate Dr. Joyce Masharia. The Milimani Children's Court in Kenya delivered the verdict, also ordering him to pay 3 million shillings. These offences occurred between April 2022 and November 2023. The sentence was pronounced by Magistrate Dr. Joyce Masharia. The Milimani Children's Court in Kenya delivered the verdict, also ordering him to pay 3 million shillings in restitution to his victims, which takes priority over the fines. During the trial, digital forensic experts presented evidence of explicit WhatsApp conversations between the accused and a 17-year-old boy, where he encouraged the minor to engage in sexual activities. While testifying in his defense, the accused denied wrongdoing, arguing that the Kenyan legal age for sexual consent was unreasonably high. He further attempted to justify his actions using biblical references, a move that was heavily criticized by the prosecution and the presiding judge. It was established that the intent of the accused was to encourage the minor to engage in sexual acts. Evidence also revealed that he received explicit images of 2 younger minors, AA, age 10, and AB, age 7, through WhatsApp for his own gratification. Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
A funeral in Geshogo, Kirinyaga County turned chaotic after presiding bishop barred politicians from making political statements. The disruption began when Kirinyaga woman representative Jerry Minor, defying the bishop's orders, attempted to speak politics. Tensions escalated when the bishop instructed for her microphone to be switched off, sparking queues among mourners, as Moigi William details.
A burial ceremony for Kelvin Mogambi, a Form 2 student from Kimunya Secondary, and Fidelius Nganga and Morris Murithi, both grade 9 students from Kimunya Primary, who tragically lost their lives in a road crash, will be turned to a show of might playground. But according to the presiding bishop, even with the presence of politicians, politics was a no.
This is a burial ceremony, not a political.
But for Kirinyaga woman representative Jerry Minor, she could not stomach that, and when she started engaging in political talk, the man of the club had the microphone switched off and took it away from her.
Not contention.
Kirinyaga Senator Kamau Murango and MCA David Madenge angrily moving to the pulpit, jeering at him, demanding that they must speak. Chaos and commotion ensued as their supporters also joined in to reprimand the man of the cloth. Outnumbered, the bishop stormed out of the burial ceremony with angry supporters in tow, hurling abusive words at him until he got to his vehicle.
We had given them an opportunity to condole with the family, but instead of condoling with the family, it is like settling scores in a meeting whereby you are condoling with people who have lost their loved ones.
Earlier on, a Gishugu member of parliament Geshimo Gethenji had addressed the mourners but steered clear of politics, only giving his message of condolences. When they were finally given an opportunity to speak, the senator and the woman representative accused the bishop, who had left, of allegedly being sponsored by the government.
Hawa wananchi wakienda hospitali wakipata hakuna dawa, hawana mtu wa kulilia. Kwa hivyo kama kiongozi ambaye amechaguliwa Kirinyaga County, lazima nizungumze.
The senator also called former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who addressed mourners through the phone.
Wafuasi wa Rigathi Gachagua pia wapewe ruhusa wazungumzie wananchi.
Elsewhere, at the parliament buildings, a section of legislators allied to former Deputy President came to his defense following a cautionary notice from the National Cohesion and Integration Commission.
NCIC must publicly disclose the criteria and process it employs when determining actions to take against individuals it goes after.
William, TV47.
Interesting, don't you think? Well, it's at that very point I think we need to take some breather, yeah? Take a glass of water and then come back with more as to politics and the good conversation later on.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer.
Thank you for choosing to stay with us. And straight to more news. Kenya Power CEO, Engineer Joseph Siror, has finally addressed the standoff between the power distributor and Nairobi City County. Speaking after the controversial garbage dumping incident, Siror revealed that Kenya Power has made efforts, that is, to reach out to the county beforehand, but the situation escalated despite their attempts at diplomacy. He now confirms that an agreement has been reached and the company will continue securing payments through legal means.
While an arrangement for the payments that might mend the relationship between power distributor Kenya Power and Nairobi City County could be settled on tomorrow, Kenya Power CEO Joseph Siror says the scuffle could have been avoided if the apologies he sent before the dumping had been acknowledged.
Immediately, I sent a message of apology. Not that there was, from my perspective, what the team had done there was nothing. I mean, that was just procedural protocol. So, but when I noticed the turn of events, I knew possibly somebody's annoyed somewhere. And as a preacher, and as somebody who got saved 7 years ago, as a man of peace, I said, yeah, I don't see anything I've done wrong, but it does no harm, me apologizing. So, of course, from there onwards, things even went south. Instead of my apology possibly assisting, it turned things in the other direction. And I know my team, because the vehicles were clamped, so many things were done. There was super annoyance, and rightfully so from my team.
He, however, insists there is no longer a tussle between the two and that the ill was one-sided.
So after we've engaged all methods, including issuing a demand notice and not getting any response, then we come to that last resort. And very reluctantly, we do disconnect supplies.
About 50% of Kenya Power's revenue is accrued from 1% of its clientele, prompting the power provider to implement strict measures for collections.
When someone's tools of trade are reduced to sewage, garbage, that is not the level I would want to engage anybody at. I mean, I don't engage at that level. So I actually declined the invitation to make it a KPLC versus NCC. Because it was never versus.
Kenya Power has also come out to strongly defend its actions, stating that it is within its mandate to retract services without payment at the company's discretion.
The Energy Act provides for competition. It's only that I think many have weighed and done the maths. And I think the fact that they are not there may be a conclusion of what their maths revealed.
This, as the distributor's CEO argues that claims of a monopoly against the company are baseless, pointing to the Energy Act, which promotes healthy competition by opening up the sector.
All right, borehole suspected to be a source of mysterious illness in South Mugirango, Kisii County has been cordoned off as health officials intensify investigations. Contaminated water samples from the borehole tested positive of negativity and, of course, raising concerns over the hygiene and sanitation in the affected villages. The Ministry of Health has assured residents that the situation is under control while urging them to maintain high hygiene standards. Sheila Chelangat details.
For close to 3 weeks, there have been tales of suffering from residents from Nyabigege, Amarondo and Nyarigiro villages in South Mugirango, Kisii County, following a mysterious illness that has left more than 100 hospitalized, escalating fears of a potential outbreak.
Signs it's the same. Lakini kwa kipimo hakuna ugonjwa inaonekana.
Hakuna mahali tulikutanika. Hapana, hiyo tu ilianza tu hivyo, ukisikia mmoja hivi ana complain kichwa mgongo na nini, na mwingine hivyo ndio hiyo kichwa mgongo hivyo.
Preliminary reports from investigations conducted indicate that the illness could be waterborne. So far, samples from a borehole in Amarondo village have been found to be contaminated with fecal matter. Hence, the ministry's move to cordon off this borehole pending completion of investigations.
That the source of water has fecal matter, which has contaminated the water. And equally, the samples that were taken from the homes, they equally have fecal matter.
However, health officials say there is no cause for alarm, urging residents to use alternative sources of water as well as maintain high standards of hygiene.
Very soon we will establish what they could take so that they can recover fully.
This comes as leaders from the region call on the Ministry of Health to urgently deploy more health officials to tackle the mysterious disease affecting 3 villages. Sheila Chelangat for TV47.
The government has initiated discussions with union representatives, that is from the Technical University of Kenya, TUK, the University Academic Staff Union, UASU, and the Kenya University Staff Union, KUSU, to deliberate on a collective bargaining agreement for TUK workers. Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Ogamba addressing the press, that is after a closed-door meeting with union officials, equally announced that the ministry has developed a sustainable framework to facilitate a structured return to work formula for the affected university staff. Key discussions points included the return to work formula, strategies to boost student enrollment, improvements in university management, and overall institutional strengthening.
So the proposal that we have, we've given it to the unions, and they are now considering that proposal, after which they will give us their opinion whether they'll accept it or not. And if they accept it, then we'll do a return to work formula, and hopefully the students will be back in class before long. So we've agreed that they'll take a day to consider the proposal, and we'll have another meeting on Thursday to now discuss the final details or amendments and adjustments that may become necessary for us to be able to ensure that we have resolved this crisis. As a government, we are determined to ensure that all these universities that have been in problems, we get solutions for them so that our students do not continue suffering by them not being able to complete their courses on time, and the very many disruptions that need to be resolved once and for all. So going forward, we've agreed that in some of the other institutions, we'll start discussions even before they reach crisis levels, so that we avoid a situation where we are firefighting each and every time. So we're in the process of resolving the problem that TUK is facing. We ask that each stakeholder just be patient for a little while, and so that we can get a solution that is a win-win for each and every party involved.
We get to business news. That is, of course, business news. Despite the increasing shift to digital banking, Kenyan banks continue to invest in physical branches to enhance customer service. Family Bank has relocated its branch in Kisii County to a more strategic location, aiming to improve operational efficiency as well as provide seamless service delivery. The move aligns with the bank's growth strategy in the region, which is emerging as a key economic hub.
Na tuko na strategy ya kuhakikisha ya kwamba every county you go utapata branch ya Family Bank. But that does not mean ya kwamba kwenye hatuna branch hatuhudumii watu. What we have done, we have invested in technology, heavily in technology.
And the Kenya Ports Authority, KPA, has significantly increased its dividend payout to the National Treasury, disbursing 10.6 billion shillings for the 2023-2024 fiscal year, a sharp rise from last year's 3.34 billion shillings. And KPA also reported an increase in pre-tax profits from 16.64 billion to 17.28 billion shillings. Deputy Chief of Staff Eli Duwalo announced that a performance management bill will soon be enacted to introduce service level agreements aimed at improving interagency coordination and service delivery at the ports. However, KPA's leadership raised concerns over operational inefficiencies caused by delays from other government agencies. KPA Chairperson Benjamin Tayari and Managing Director Captain William Ruto called for a review of performance evaluation criteria, emphasizing the impact of external factors on port operations.
Optimality in the level of operations, which you need to conform to. That is why in your mission statement you are striving to provide efficient and competitive port services, because you are not the only player in this field. There are other players in the field, such as the port of Dar es Salaam, for example. And to maintain the level of performance and position yourself effectively in the market, efficiency and effectiveness is key.
Most of the issues which are affecting us, especially on operations, not on the board side, are the other stakeholders or the other government agencies which we are supposed to work hand in hand. If we have a seamless operation with the other agencies, then I think the other issues maybe which might be raised here will not be there on the table.
Would have also recommended that going forward in future, the criteria of evaluation also should be considered in issues that are outside our control. What should we do?
Sports news brought to you by Maybet.
Join Maybet leo upate free bet papo hapo. Fanya hivi, chagua home team to win, yani number 1 au draw X au away team 2 kwa game ya siku ya free bet. Weka namba yako ya simu, weka password ya account yako. Chagua submit free bet. Utapata free bet kwa account yako ya Maybet. Usisahau kuverify account yako. Kama hutakuwa verified, utapoteza free bet yako after 2 days. Betting is strictly for 18 years and over. Play responsibly. Terms and conditions apply. BCLB number 0000578.
Maybet na minia na najishindia. Pesa inavutia.
We get sporty as Kenya prepares to host the African Nations Championship in August and the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations, AFCON. That is, the Ministry of Sports, led by Cabinet Secretary Salim Mvurya, has reaffirmed its commitment to building a strong, competitive national football team. Just hours after Benny McCarthy was officially unveiled as the new Harambee Stars head coach, he held a meeting with the Ministry of Sports in what appears to be a key step in reviving Kenyan football. During the meeting, CS Mvurya emphasized the government's effort to reform football governance, strengthen technical leadership, and invest in sports infrastructure that is to restore Harambee Stars' former glory as a regional powerhouse. McCarthy's first assignment will be an away match against the Gambia later this month, followed by a crucial home game against Gabon on March the 24th at Nyayo Stadium for match day 6 of the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers.
That's where Kenya needs to be. Yes. Yeah, Chan.
He is highly qualified actually to lead the technical bench of Harambee Stars. And as I welcome him to Kenya and to the Harambee Stars team, we are very confident, that we have the right man, to lead the technical bench. And already we are looking forward to Kenya qualifying for World Cup.
And all I want to say is we are here to work extremely hard for the Kenyan faithfuls, for the fans, for the government and for the federation. We want to make them proud of their national team. We want to make them proud of being Kenyans because, we want to qualify for many things. We're hosting the CHAN and we want to portray a really good tournament. And as the minister has said, we're in it to win it.
The signing of Benny McCarthy and his team is a culmination of the rigorous process we underwent, the discussions we had with the ministry on how we need to revamp our national team. And I'm very happy that we've reached here today. And we are looking forward to greater, bigger things in the coming days and coming months.
Preparations for the 2024 African Nation Championship and the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations are in progress. And according to the Ministry of Sports, earlier today, Sports Cabinet Secretary Salim Mvurya and Principal Secretary Engineer Peter Tim appeared before the Senate Committee on Labor and Social Welfare right here in Nairobi, where they were questioned about the state of Kenya's stadiums. Lawmakers sought explanations on why no stadium in Kenya is currently ready, that is for use, affecting the top flight league and leading to the postponement of high-profile matches such as the Mashemeji Derby between AFC Leopards and Gor Mahia. The lack of facilities is also likely to impact the national football teams, including Harambee Stars, Harambee Starlets, Rising Stars, and Junior Starlets ahead of the upcoming fixtures. Despite these challenges, Kenya remains on course to co-host CHAN 2024 alongside that is Uganda and Tanzania, as well as AFCON 2027.
There is
Kasarani that is ready, and then Kasarani that is not ready.
Kasarani was in two phases. We had a phase for CHAN and a phase for AFCON. And in both assessments by CAF, in Kasarani and Nyayo, they have given us a clean bill, in terms of the preparation for CHAN. There are other minor completions like lights in Nyayo that they are being finalized, but basically the changing rooms, the field, the VVIP, and many of the key infrastructure is already done.
All right, and of course, some more before we close on news. FKF Premier League leaders Kenya Police FC were held to a goalless draw by AFC Leopards in a midweek fixture at Kenyatta Stadium, Machakos. Both the teams created several chances but failed to convert, resulting in shared points at full time. The result sees Kenya Police maintain their position at the top of the table, moving 1 point ahead of second-placed Tusker FC, while AFC Leopards remain fifth with 35 points.
Pembeni Baraka Badi Edage ametisha Baraka Badi Edage bado amesinzia kule Clinton Kinanga Ukinyi. Baraka Badi Edage aliingia ndani, alimtesa kweli kweli. Lewis Sambi Banda akachilia fataki ya chini kwa chini, lakini tayari alikuwa ameotea. Kibendera chake wamepoteza. Musa Unjo Pele umegonga mwamba, gonga mwamba tena, shuti lake la mbali kwa mjinyoosha Jobo Chieng, kinuka gonga lango na kurejea dimbani. Bebeto, fantastic save yake Jobo Chieng. Ana nguvu mguuni huyu, ameachilia Mijel Leslie, lakini akaokoa Jobo Chieng.
Just how can we make good use of social media to play positive politics right here in the country is what we are discussing tonight on the People's Court. Remember, it is a conversation that has been there for the longest of time, but we must always, have this conversation, build it even bigger, because every time there's that metamorphosizing of the politics or perhaps the activities on social media, and therefore you must stay woke, of course, with the coming of AI, just to get to know that in as much as we can't ebit away from the space of politics, how best can we make use of it, tap into it to make sure that we play healthy politics, politics of tolerance and not intolerance in the country. The guests are already set for that very conversation. We engage the Gen Zs because we understand just how crucial, social media was in terms of us playing politics during the protest. Of course, the much remembered June 25th occurrence and so much more. And so we get to that conversation, but first we must take a quick short breather and we come back, introduce the guest and slide straight to it.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's mind. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
welcome back to the broadcast and straight to the conversation, the social media politics that we are playing right here in the country. On this side of the panelist, we have Casmuel Makoure, an activist, but basically, are you an activist to that magnitude? ODM? You will tell us your story about ODM and whether it is a fruit of the labor that you have played at the social media space. Right. Yes, we also have Omwansa M. Omwansa, pretty much a common face on the People's Court, political science graduate. Thank you so much for creating time. And last but not least, Kebaso Murara mnamtambua huyo.
Thank you.
Wakili, thank you so much for creating time as well. We get to this conversation about the social media politics. I mean, it's pretty much a conversation that we continue to play in the country, but of course we advance it, to greater heights. And the business of the day is to just have a conversation that will get us to a point where we say, how can we play politics at that level of the social media? But then it is politics that is healthy, politics that is positive. Can we manage this as a country? Right in again in studio, we have so many ladies and gentlemen. I think I'll just mention their names randomly, but of course when you get the mic, pretty much say your name as we proceed. We have Collins Ochieng, University of Nairobi, Jarrett Mungari. We also have Jane Dungu of MKU. We have Rachel Jomo of University of Nairobi, Jim Jeff, MKU, Faith Grace, University of Nairobi, Joyce Lekuton, Park Abdimateen Bashar of USIU, Mark Ouko, Youth Coordinator, National Students Council of Kenya. We also have Ruth Wahu, Student Leader TUK. Hapo ndio maneno yuko sijui kama wapi Wahu. Mambo iko sawa huko? In the process. Of course, we've seen some positive reports today. And we also have Ohanga Grace Wangari, Multimedia University of Kenya, Mulamba Revolutionary. It's a tongue twister, activist. We also have him, and we also have Rotich David. So when you get the conch, you just say your name as we proceed to the conversation. And the gentlemen are here. I think I begin by asking you, Casmuel. Yeah? You first of all explain to us the pictures that we've seen on social media. You and Baba are now officially ODM, and whether you suppose that these are the fruits of the labor that you have belabored at that level of the social media, and whether you think then that, of course, is a good space to grow someone politically.
Thank you. I think, yes, again, I cannot claim glory for any of that. Of course, it stems from the fact that there's an indubitable amount of work that we did last year. And it got to a point where political problems required political solutions, and I thought of aligning myself with one of the most insightful and impactful, if not the most influential politicians in the country. And now we're currently working in the space of the Youth League, trying to revamp it, because again, even just dependent on the reports of the Registrar of Political Parties, it remains the largest, best organized political party. So it's trying to figure out how can we, the youth, find our spaces within existing political parties to capture power.
The Youth League has been in existence for quite some time, the ODM Youth League for that matter. Right. We have seen the likes of Jaoko, we have seen the likes of Eric Regalo, steering and, just speaking so much so how best we can incorporate the youth. Do you suppose they have done much in terms of, bringing change, and therefore you see the need to proceed with that?
I think so, and a lot of the legislators, the highest quality of legislators that we have in the current August House, come from my party. From Crystal Asigi in the nominations, my former schoolmates, Umul Khair Mohammed, it's rather inclusive of the best performing member of parliament, Honorable Babu Owino, comes from my political party, the super senator who's a party spokesperson, and the secretary general. I think the party, while it might have its own contradictions or issues, has done fairly well in the advancement of the cause of the young people. And anyone who has stemmed from that youth league has gone to scale different heights. I must argue that even the majority whip was once part of our youth league.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Fair enough. I do not want to speak with finality, but this gentleman here as well, pretty much made a lot of noise during the time of the Gen Z protest and, largely on what was playing out online. But today, I do not know whether he's part of the Kenya Kwanza government or not. He tells us today, Mwanza, you tell us whether it is the case.
You're describing me.
I am asking. I'm asking a question. It must be you. Because the other time we had Mwanza on set, and a few people, some of them have been here, you know, he was anti, and he was reading us pretty much to the, I don't want to call it the riot act, on what the social media says and basically what the youth are saying. The next time, Mwansa was talking about a totally different thing. Have you shifted gears?
I'm happy how you explained the other, but the last part you're talking about a thing. You're even fearing to say what.
But fair enough. Let's proceed to the question and focus. It's fair. It's important. Good. Are you there? Are you not? So that we get to Murara.
Good. It's only a fool who doesn't change his mind.
Okay.
Wise people, day by day, it's a learning day. So once you find that there's something you've learned about some things in life, you get to make your mind. So that's why after consultations here and there, my grandparents, my friends, my colleagues, my family, I thought it wise to go the way that I went, that I said last time here. And I'm proud of it because, okay, allow me, like always, like culture, always talking Swahili.
Yeah.
I know it's an English or something.
It's okay.
So venye nasema ni kwamba that kila wakati mtu unaweza chagua kulingana na venye maoni yako ama mambo yako unaonelea. So that's what I thought after what I went through and all that. I thought the best thing, because we only have like 2 or 3 people who are going for this seat, and the best solution for me, that's why I chose to support my president. That's why we came. He's in the ODM Youth League. I'm the CEO for the Presidential Youth Delivery Unit, whereby we are going across the country to support, to show what the president has done. I didn't vote for my president. I went around the country to support BAMBA and tell people that sahi tungekuwa napata 6,000 per month. But again, 5.2 million people came and vote for my president. So why should we keep fighting him? Hata hana time ya kufanya kazi. That's why I said, as a young man, because I love peace. Mr. Akin, that's why I told even Baba last time when he was, he didn't win, he chose to postpone the victory. We told him once he comes back, we want peace, we don't want chaos, we don't want any kind of political intolerance. So that's why I chose that way.
Fair enough. Would you attribute this political growth, your personal political growth, to the social media space?
Yeah, I'll attribute to that. Why do I say this? I have been, when I was doing my first degree political science, I was in first year. There's a governor, I want to mention the name. He used to pay us good money for us to rant online. Okay. And, you know, social media can be used for propaganda and all that. So after I sat down during these Gen Z and whatever, I realized that there are people eating money, there are people who become billionaires. And as young people, we are suffering, and you want us to shout the same chorus that they are doing. So, I mean, I don't have to,
and this support for the government and what it is doing right now is purely in good faith and no money has been paid?
I don't look like I have money. I think I'm the least here. Look at what they are wearing.
Morara Kebasa, do you have
money here? I don't have money here.
And Kenyans on social media at some point in time again have really accused and pointed fingers at these 2 gentlemen, saying that the money is with you people. Morara, you have the money?
Which money?
That one that he is talking about, the social media money. But basically, what would you make of the social media space in terms of how we are playing politics right here in the country, positive, negative, and whether where it takes us moving forward?
Well, I believe politics has been impacted heavily by social media. And that cuts across from TikTok, Facebook to Twitter. There's been very positive conversations, even the Gen Z demonstrations last year, which actually placed the youth at the pedestal of the political space in Kenya, was actually mobilized on social media. Most of us are actually a creation of social media, because social media gives you the opportunity to be able to say your mind to millions of people at the same time. Okay. And I believe even social media sometimes goes ahead of mainstream media. You find that mainstream media is actually playing catch up to what is happening on social media. It has personally impacted my branding and my mission to hold the government accountable by visiting various projects, because these projects then I'm able to put them on social media, and Kenyans are able to see how their money is used and how their taxes is being expended. I've been able to tour about 32 counties and about 97 projects in total, worth about 280 billion in total. And all I can say is that there's too much theft and wastage in our governance. and there's misplaced priorities. Right now we have a new budget policy paper which describes a budget of 4.2 trillion. And out of that 4.2 trillion, 3.1 trillion is actually recurrent expenditure. Only 750 billion is going to development. These are things that you should worry young people like myself and the ones seated with us today, because then these are their jobs, these are their opportunities to live, work and grow in this country. And most young people are actually giving up, and we need to ensure that they maintain hope and still have hope that a new Kenya is on the horizon, because otherwise then we become another Haiti. Because when young people are unemployed and cannot be able to earn a living resourcefully, then there are going to be a problem in the communities in terms of crime, because they have to eat. The first instinct of a human being is survival. So we continue to use social media every day to do civic education, to do political education, to ensure that young people understand the importance of having an ID and the importance of registering to vote, and not just registering to vote, but also turning up for positions of governance so that they can be the solution that they want to see.
In this genuine move, the instances where you get backlash and everything, do you suppose then that the Kenyans that are actively engaging on social media, I mean, while we know that they have a right, do you suppose that they take time, first of all, to understand the politics that is being played down there? And are they keen to make sure that it is positive enough for their own benefits?
You see, politics is not a game of flowers. It's not Valentine's Day. The moment you get into politics, it's about a fight for resources. And if you're a leader, the only way to lead people is to lead them by loving them. Because otherwise, if you lead people by having expectations that they will be nice to you on social media and that their responses will always excite you, then you'll be extremely frustrated. It is true that sometimes we receive a lot of backlash from social media, but most of that backlash is actually not meant for us. It's people who are releasing the pain that is in them. There are young people that have had to go to OnlyFans and strip chat to sell their nudes to earn a living. There are young people that are unable to marry because they can't afford dowry and therefore they have to escape with someone's girl. There are young people that have gone to drug abuse because they don't have something resourceful to do. And some of the pain that we experience and some of the backlash that we experience on social media, personally, in my view, I don't think it is meant for us. It is just that these people need an exit for the pain. And they look at the people who are at the top or who are the ones who are supposed to be speaking for them. And it's kind of them trying to say that you need to do more, you need to speak more, you need to advocate more. We are running out of time. We need jobs, we need opportunities. Time is not waiting. We've not eaten yesterday. We need to eat today, and tomorrow is still waiting for us. So personally, my own understanding of some of the negative energy that we receive on social media is that we are dealing with a frustrated population. So the first way of dealing with them is to understand them.
All right.
To know that they have pain, that they have anger, and they have anguish and hopelessness. Then once you understand that, then you are able to have a conversation with them and to listen to them more than you listen to yourself. Then there's a second angle to it.
As you
know you want to come in. There's a second angle to it. There's sponsored hate. We also need to think about the sponsored hate.
Oh, the sponsored hate.
Sponsored hate on social media. And more especially, it doesn't happen so much on Facebook or TikTok. It happens on X. So there's this, you know, the government has limitless resources. You saw the president donating 20 million to a church and pledging another 100 million. They have no problem with money. Money is available. So that money they paid to university students and young people who do not have jobs and opportunities, and they put them in a room, because I personally know for sure, and I can bet on it, that the appointed director of digital, Dennis Itumbi, runs a group of about 20 youth who each of them have about 100 accounts on social media. So sometimes you can receive...
Dennis has a right to reply, and because he's not here, we might not want to hit him so hard, you know.
Not you, me.
You are,
I'm the one who is hitting, he will respond to me.
I will tell you to present facts and figures, even though you have...
Dennis Itumbi has a group of 20 youth who operate from Mudavadi Center, who are paid 1,500 shillings a day, and their job is to have at least 20 to 30 accounts each, to sell sponsored hate on social media. So sometimes,
based on facts and figures.
Yes, I've said it. So some of the hate that you get on social media is sponsored hate. So sometimes you might look at it and you're like, oh, these people, they are so negative, they are this. But you're not actually talking to real people.
Okay.
You're talking to one person who has 30 accounts, which is identity thefting, actually.
So why is there no people who are coming then to sponsor positive vibes, or the same as well happens?
Why nobody's coming to do what?
To sponsor positive vibes. If Dennis is going to be busy sponsoring negative...
You see, when a dog bites a man, it's not news.
Okay.
But when a man bites a dog...
It's a bit of schooling right there as to the media. I mean, you want to miscast story media. And I allow you people to as well ask this gentleman questions in the event that you have any, because then we've seen just how active they've been on social media in terms of helping us, again, pushing for the Gen Z agenda. Before we come to you with your questions and perhaps your positions, we have seen the outcome of what played out as to the Gen Z protest. There's been this general feel that Azimio, or better yet, ODM, hijacked the entire process. Do you suppose that the entire protest then achieved the purpose, you know, of basically what will be positive online politicking, and the protests that were played out, did they really get to achieve much in terms of what the Gen Z would have wished for?
I think that's a bit of a flawed question.
Why would you argue that way?
Because it kind of narrows down what the purpose of the protest was. The protest was not an isolated event.
Okay.
The protest was not, it's a protracted struggle. Mm-hmm. It's a struggle for a just and more equitable, corruption-free, well-governed Kenya. And that cannot be analyzed in the lens of what happened on a particular day.
Okay.
The struggle will take time to be realized, because there are various systemic challenges that will need to be overcome for us to achieve what the ideal utopia that we seek. However, in the issue of hijacking, I think it would also be rather unfair for people to blame the Orange Democratic Movement for hijacking the movement, because at the time, for example, when my party leader wanted to associate himself with the movement, we told him that, Baba, you've done enough, so please stay home. And there are several hidden hands that were played, especially during the time of the movement, that we might have to be a bit honest about, is that there are people who were on the streets genuinely. Like, there's a person here who just came because that's just what it was. But I think there are also people who are running particular agendas, and there are people who are doing this for example, fundraising and grant writing. And it's a thing which I've consistently spoken about. The Orange Democratic Movement was not voted into power. If anything, they had the exact same demonstration in 2023 when lives were lost. The 2023 Sufuria Revolution, as it might popularly be known as, was actually a finance bill protest. It was just protesting the exact same things. By the time the four party honchos were joining the broad-based government, I had not made the conscious decision to join the Orange Democratic Movement. Therefore, I might not necessarily be able to speak much upon their joining. It would be unfair. While I might have, yes, now I have to contend with the fact that I will have to defend the position. But I am more versed with the affairs of the Youth League, and that we continuously and continue to organize and mobilize within this Youth League. Because we cannot act as though there are youth in different silos. There are some of these youth here. I've seen you at the town halls, right? There are some youth who belong to the UDA. There are some youth who belong to the ODM here. There are some youth who belong to all these political factions. Therefore, it is incumbent upon us to find ways in which we can invigorate safe spaces. Because remember, we are asking for a living fighting chance.
Okay.
The thing that a political vehicle does for us, it avails it. If you think that my party does not avail the change for you, there are several numerous options, and we're still blessed to exist in a democracy which you can go ahead and create your own.
All right.
So in exercising of our freedoms and liberties, I think it would be rather unfair to place the expectation on one person or to place the expectation on one party to be in charge of the liberation. Be it as it may, we still continue to contend. So the movement has morphed, has taken different shapes, and there are people who will want to keep it a movement. There are people who will want to join and organize within political parties, but it is still a a very protracted struggle. The finance bill might have been off, but remember we were speaking about various issues on good governance, on accountability, the war on graft, and transparency in government, and health, education. Those are issues which we will not solve via one protest.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Speaking of parties, Murara, chama iko stable?
Yes, chama iko imara. It's called the Inject Party of Kenya. By the way, most people do not know, but Inject stands for Inclusion of National Justice Civic Transformation Party.
Not inject, the inject that we know. All right. Let's listen into this bite. We hear what Mr. President had to say about SHARE, but basically his reference to what plays out in the social media space, and then we come back to you, Umwansa.
Makelele mnasikia kwa hii mitandao na nini ni watu ambao walikuwa wanaibia sisi siku ya NHIF. These are brokers. Iko sijui iko shida. Hata niliona juzi wakisema ati serikali itatumia bilioni 100 ati kwa system. Hakuna senti ya serikali itatumiwa kulipa system yeyote.
Social media, au mtandao ni mzuri, mtandao ni mbaya at the same time. Omonsa, prepare your answer to this as to whether now the agenda that you people are propelling and pushing for, whether it is, the social media space is working so well as a vehicle to make sure that this then is reaching as many Kenyans, and whether it is viable in any way. But ladies and gentlemen, tunataka kwanza na nani uko na mic, eh? Uko na swali kwa the panelists, or perhaps your opinion on basically what we are doing as to the social media space, and whether in any way it is helping in shaping the politics, and whether it's going to shape the 2027 win. You could stand up so we can. Yes. Simama tu kidogo ndio camera ikuone. Yes, there's a camera here.
I think I'll start with my opinion.
Okay.
Is this audible?
That's fine.
Then extend a few questions.
Tell the people your name. Jina moja tu ni mzuri.
My name? James Mulamba Jr.
Yes.
Then extend 3 questions to the gentleman seated here.
Okay.
So, in my opinion, so far, social media has helped us mobilize. Caswell very well knows that through the X-Spaces, Morara too, we've been able to bring youth to the streets, that this would not have been possible without social media as it is right now. Social media has met these 3 gentlemen you can see here and several others, and without that social media, we wouldn't have gotten to this space. Secondly, I think that the space of social media has helped us to disseminate information rapidly, in that today, we know that we would know who Gachagua has met with before it's written in the next headlines. Okay. We would know what Ruto has said in Bungoma at a funeral before it's written, before it's broadcasted. And that's a good thing, because it's a good thing to always be informed. I also understand that social media has helped us to counter misinformation from the government, because as it is, the current president has been deceiving Kenyans that the Bill Gates vaccine, yes, I said it, is a good vaccine for livestock. The anti-fatting vaccine is progressive, tackling merely the pollution that is coming from our livestock, while we've not exhaustively tackled the pollution that is coming from the fossil fuels out here. We're still using electric that is generated using fossil fuels, and we still have vehicles from the government and the rest of all of us using fossil fuels, and we've not seen any legitimate efforts from this government to say transit this country from the over-dependence on fossil fuels to say green energy, and they are not willing to do that.
Right.
So as to my 3 questions, I have many, but I will start with 3. So I would ask Omwansa, what changed now? How is Ruto now your president? And how is he your favorite now? And you never saw eye to eye with them a few months ago. Could we conclude that, because I've seen you with the Jubilee Cup before, that because Uhuru Kenyatta was approached by William Ruto, you now are fond of the president? Is it perhaps that influence that is extending to that? As to Morara, wouldn't it be pietist to say that Caswell here sold us out by going to Raila Odinga, but extend a hand of congratulations to you for going to meet with Rigathi Gachagua? Because in our best opinion, Rigathi Gachagua is our enemy. as the rest of the old-timer politicians who are still pushing corruption and they're still peddling tribal bigotry to this very day, because that beats us. We do not understand how you claim to be the leader of a tribalist movement, but now you've ditched that to be the leader of a tribal movement. Because to us, Rigathi Gachagua is the chief tribalist. And that
Fair
is
enough.
not to say
That
that
way?
the other politicians are not tribal.
Okay.
As to Kasmuel here, in all the years, well, you are newbie in politics, I would say that. And this is frankly from me. So you've recently just joined ODM. You've had so many years before, and you've had a chance to join ODM. In all these years, even when Kenyans knew you as a musician and as a good pianist, why did you not join ODM then? It appears to us that you used the genuine clamor from the Gen Zs here to build a name for yourself, and now you want to negotiate with the ODM party and with its leader, and by extension the president, who we've seen you greet fluently.
All right.
And
Okay.
we are unhappy with
Fair
that.
enough. Let's have somebody else. quickly.
Thank you very much.
The next one, a lady, and then we'll come to you.
Thank you very much for the chance, Linda. I'm Rotich David, a youth leader from Baringo County and also a lawyer. I'll take us a bit back into history
And
on the
make it
28th,
tight. Okay.
28th of July, 1794, when Maximilian Robespierre was killed by the guillotine.
I thought you people don't like history. Let's note that
France.
down. All right.
Yeah, in France. We have to learn history.
It's
we cannot
good.
know where we're going without understanding history.
Right.
And the people who guillotined Maximilian, a lawyer, you know, he was 36 by that time, were fellow revolutionists, you know, who took part in the French Revolution. And that is why Orengo once said that revolution, it's its own children.
Yeah.
It has always been the way that way. That's why we have seen the Gen Zs building some of their own, and then in the end dismantling them and trying to put them down. And it's not so much understandable. They have not even waited for them to betray them first before they went after their necks. It has always been the case that revolutionists as a way of eating themselves. Political problems have to be solved with politics.
Right.
You cannot have a revolution which does not have a well-defined goal in mind, does not have a leadership structure, and you will think you will ever achieve anything politically. When Thomas Isidore Noel Sangara became the president of Upper Volta, the present-day Burkina Faso in 1983, when he was only 34 years, he had to undertake a coup d'etat.
Okay.
When all these leaders, Martin Luther King Jr., led revolutions, they had to go out there. So my question, therefore, will be, in the end, of course, I won't criticize all these folks.
Yes.
Because one thing I'll say is we need to get in there. If we are to have any solutions, we need to be in those political spaces. We need to have political power, and we need to have political influence. So my question, therefore, will be to Morara and even Kasmul. Do you guys regret perpetuating the idea of being leaderless? Because I seriously lamented about that idea even during the protests.
Okay.
Do you regret us not having a well-defined leadership structure and not even negotiating for CS positions?
And Murara, you know, speaks confidently with the fact, highlighting the fact that, they are leaders and shaping these conversations at that level of online. Perhaps he will speak to that as he tells us whether he has the confidence that indeed he is a leader that is being listened to and he's able to shape opinion. Somebody else, quickly, it doesn't have to be a question, it can be, let's have a lady and then we'll come to you later. Let's be fair, eh? Right, quick.
Right, my name is Ruth Amuhu. I'm a student leader from the Technical University of Kenya. I think this particular topic speaks very directly to my heart. Yeah. And what I can say is that whenever I look at Kasmuel and whenever I look at Morara, personally as a young person, I am proud of them. Regardless of our perception of them joining, for example, Kasmuel joining a political party, as long as all of us speak to what pertains the Kenyan people, I do not have a problem. If today I go ahead and join, for example, a certain political party and I feel its core values, as well as it doesn't dilute my perception of how I see the leadership of today, then we shouldn't have a problem, because the problem we're having on social media is that instead of having constructive conversations, for example, on what is happening with SHA, for example, with what is happening with university education, we are busy fighting individuals, which does not even take us anywhere. Because just like Morara said, as long as you put yourself into the political space, I'm also a politician from my university, you're only allowed to love, but the love that comes from the people that you lead is not probably what you might expect. And people have, just he mentioned, the people who will probably take what you do and the parts that you take positively, because they have not been exposed to the position that you have been exposed, for example. So my future for the social media space, and the reason as to why I'm saying it's going to be a very important tool that is going to be used for the 2027 elections, because when you look at the number of young people that were registered by IEBC, which had targeted 6 million young people in 2022 and only ended up to register around 2.3 million young people. I was a voter registration officer, and I can tell you, as much as I used to report very early and go home very late, I was not able to reach most of the targets because young people were a bit shy to actually register. So my prayer is that we get onto social media and we carry out the hashtags, for example, of let's register as young people. Even if I know it is not right for us to have IDs that have expiry dates, which we're actually fighting for as young people, but I think it is important because it's going to be a tool for you to register as a voter. So for example, if you're able to get 10 million voters for us to be able to vote, and it doesn't make sense, a population of 45 million, only 7 million or not 7 million, but 14 million people get to vote. It's a bit of a menace. So I think as young people, we need to take up the space to have constructive conversations on matters policy and what pertains us. But as it stands, I am proud of the various activists. I think it's an open space where everyone is open to giving out their opinions on what they think of how the leadership of the country is
Good
actually
enough,
going.
and I like that you have advanced the agenda even better, because then we need to take track of basically what is playing out social media and advancing the conversation as to, registering as voters. So allow us to take a quick short break, and then we come back, get the responses of this gentleman. Remember, the conversation is about social media and not the three gentlemen, but of course they must answer, as they would all agree that indeed they are fruits of what the social media politics has been in the country. So we take that short break and we come back to that.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's mind. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth.
Welcome back to the People's Court. The conversation is all about the space, that is the social media space, in terms of advancing political agenda, not just in the country, but across the board. And now that we have seen many of us actively engaging at that very space, just how constructive are we in our engagements to ensure that then we play our politics positive? Quickly to you, gentlemen, so that we come to this other side.
Thank you.
All right, stand up, please.
No problem. Once again, thank you so much. My name is Mark Oko. I serve in the National Students' Council, and I'm also a youth advisor to PS Raymond Omolo of Interior. Now, in terms as to whether social media will have an impact towards the politics of this country, there are just two binaries. And the two binaries are this. You need to understand the hardware mechanism of the Kenyan voters and the software mechanism of the Kenyan voters. The hardware mechanism of the Kenyan voters is what you see on social media, the feelings, the numbers, the matching and all that. Now the software mechanism is what now converts these feelings into action. It's like what happens with the finance bill. The finance bill was like a software mechanism. Like Morara Kibaso was at some point a software mechanism when he was showing all these things. So it's like, for example, what you saw in the Arab Spring, that's the hardware mechanism. People are revolting against the government, and all this that happens. Then the software was just a fruit vendor by the name of Mohamed Bouazizi, who burnt himself, and at that point, then it twisted the entire hardware mechanism into a revolt. So I would say the ultimatum as to whether what we see in social media will have an effect in 2027 is what's the software mechanism that will change it. And in my presumption, the most likely and most formidable software mechanism will be most likely Raila Amolo Odinga, because either way he sways himself, then that will change the pathway of the politics of the mechanisms of the entire game.
Okay,
Thank
interesting.
you.
Gentlemen, you want to respond?
Yeah,
go
first.
This gentleman has been waiting. First of all, he actually has to tell us what he makes of course, the space in terms of advancing the agenda that they are now advancing. Of course, speaking of the positives that the government continue to do.
This is how we operate in government. We are very peaceful. Hatuna kelele mingi. Na follow to procedure. And also, I want to. I forgot. I was to say this before we start. That all those days for years I've always sat there when I was in opposition. But since I joined government, I'm doing well. I'm sitting at the high table with my good friends.
That too is a high table in its own.
Yeah, so join the government and you'll be sitting here. Anyway,
proceed.
To the question they have asked. To the question.
You want to respond? You will get a chance. You will have a right to reply.
Okay.
You will.
So the reason, the question aliuliza, na nilisema hapa last time, I'm not ready to lose any more relatives. I lost my brother in the Gen Z revolution last time. It was so painful. I lost my friends. My friends are right now paralyzed hapo Mkuru. So I'm not ready to go through that again. That's why I said...
So is it the fear or the positivity that is...
What I'm doing now, I'm being like a peace ambassador, Like, let us embrace peace. Let us embrace dialogue. Let us talk. Our president is a listening... our president is a listening president.
Okay.
I mean, he has always come down here to talk to us. So if we could have people in the system, because another reason why I joined the government is because, and why we lost as Gen Z, we were there. Chana na hao mandugu zetu walikuwa wanafika pale Kimathi Street, wanafika huko university. Si tulienda hadi parliament. Our friends were shot tukiwa hapo. Okay? So we know what we went through during those days. That's why sahi tunasema we don't want to go through that way again. Let us talk.
Is it that you do not want to go through that way, or you would be more comfortable to see the concerns that you raised addressed?
Both, because if we see the concerns, we will not go through that way. Another reason why we lost is because we were leaderless. Ulikuwa nasikia leo Tuesday tuende, Monday tuende State House, tuende sijui klabu, sijui tuende tukakule wapi, I mean, we were out there, okay? So ulikuwa natoka town unapenya watu wanaenda unaenda. If we had someone who could lead us, instead of going to TikTok or whatever and doing all those, coming and saying, today we are doing this.
You think you were not firm enough to have been that person?
To?
You were not firm enough to have been that one person?
Okay, for me, we have been in this game for the longest. For comrades who have been here, we've been in campus for like 9-8 years. We've been out there in politics. Some of us here came up because of Gen Z. That's why they are here with me on this high table. So what I want to say is that lastly, we need to be in it for us to win it. We cannot win it from the side shows. We cannot win it from the outside. We need to be there so that we tell the president, maze uli promise hapo ulipeana 20 million kwa hii church. Si pia 20 million pema youth, but hata pia youth mgani? We are leaderless, ataita nani? Akipea Morara, ataenda huko kupiga picha na Kalonzo na tutapata yodo. So it is important that we have a leader. We have a leader that we can trust. Kama ni nini hapa Kasmuel, tunajua ni ODM League. Tunaenda kwa ofisi ya ODM League. Kama hayuko, tuna have a dialogue. Sio vita. Maybe asonge kwa mikono yetu ndio zinini.
So fair enough. And you know, disclaimer, musiwai sikia maneno ya Mwansa. Hii yote ni high table, eh? The entire studio is a high table, right? But then we come to it as you respond, gentlemen. Reality, Murari, you wanted to say something, but also we have seen what plays out in other countries. And I know you are a follower of basically what plays out here and beyond. We have seen the concerns in Biafra, Nigeria, Amazonia, Nigeria, a lot of activity online. Sometimes you're told that these people are actually just keyboard warrioring from different parts of the world while they are instigating or inciting the people back at home to get into the field and fight, and then they lose their lives and nothing much is forthcoming. What would you make of our situation in the country as you respond to the other questions?
So, okay, let's begin with the response, then you go to your question.
Fair enough.
James Mulamba Jr. asked me a question about joining Rigathi Gachagua and whether that makes me then subscribe to his values of tribalism. Now, I've just met you right now. I don't know you, and I don't know your values. If we take a picture together today, someone who hates you will say, I've joined you in the bad things that you usually do. Now, meeting people doesn't mean that their values have to rub off on you. You can actually meet even with the devil and ask him why God has never killed him and just finish the evil that is in the world. All leaders around the world meet with people that they don't like. In fact, the business of leadership is very nasty. It is the kind of business where you meet people that ordinarily on another day you never see to eye, or you never want to meet them. But sometimes you have to meet them because of the people in the ground. Now, in Kenya, we have a problem, and that problem is identity politics or tribalism. Now, much as you don't like Gachagua, you don't like his voice, or you don't like his values, there are 4 million voters who believe in him, who have propped him up as their leader, and who are ready to rally behind him if he was to run for election or if he was to back up someone. So if you have a desire to be a president of a country, what do you do with these 4 million people? Do you exclude them from your plan, or do you co-opt their leadership to want to reach out to them? So the problem is not me, Morara, or anybody who is seated here. The problem is the Kenyan people. The Kenyan people voted for Anne Waiguru knowing that she's corrupt, but still voted for her. The Kenyan people voted for Gladys Bosholei, the women rep of Uasin Gishu, knowing that she has tuhuma za ufisadi kutoka kwa judiciary.
They're walking scot-free, and therefore you cannot declare that they
for
are in
Nyaribari
any
Masaba
way.
constituted Daniel Manduku had a Kenya Ports Authority case, but the Kenyan people still trusted him to be their MP. Who is the front runner to be Governor Bungoma right now, the most popular candidate? It's Didmas Barasa, okay? So then we need to ask ourselves, where is the disconnect? Why are the people not relating their pain to corruption? And why are they not resenting leaders who are corrupt and choosing leaders who have integrity? Why is it that, for example, having a case in court or being violent is like a pass? It's like a passport to leadership, that once you've shown that you can be corrupt, then this is your opportunity to lead in governance.
Right.
Now, for me, joining the leaders of opposition to be present there, I don't join there as a briefcase carrier. I come as a party leader, holding the interests of young people. Now, the best way to use me, because now you can use me, is to use me as the man inside the door. because not all of us are going to fit in that meeting. This is a meeting of 5 people. Maybe Kalonzo seated here, Martha Karua seated here, Rigathi Gachagua seated here, Morara seated here. This could possibly be the next government. If this could possibly be the next government, at least you as the youth of Kenya, you know you have one man in the room. Now what you need to do with that one man is to ensure that you have very strict accountability mechanism with him and constant consultation to make sure that your interests are said at the table and factored in the agreement, and that you make this person who is representing you accountable. So as things stand and the way things are, that is how the politics of the country is. But I can give you some advice. As leaders like me, honorable members, if you want our country to change, the only way it can change is through civic education. 70% of this country is rural. It's villages. And people there just want the lunch for today. So if money comes, they never fail to line up. They must line up for the money. So then we have to go down to the villages and relate the 1.3 trillion that has been withdrawn from our treasury without approval of IFMIS and the control of budget to the money they are receiving. We have to go down to the villages and show them the hospital which does not have an MRI machine, which was allocated, as I do in the Vampire Diaries, versus the money they are receiving. I showed you a video of people receiving money not anywhere else but in church.
As we cut to chase.
So then just to wrap it up so that I don't take too much time. If we want to change our country, we have to leave our comfort zones, go down and do civic education to the Kenyan people so that they understand, number one, the problem. Most people in Kenya don't even know what the problem is. They don't have a single idea what the problem is. Until we identify the problem very well, it will be very difficult for us to have a solution. Lastly, Mr. Rotich comes from Baringo. I was there for Vampire Diaries recently. He asks me whether we regret being leaderless. Personally, I don't think whether it's a question of whether we regret or shouldn't regret. The Gen Z revolution was not planned. If it was planned, it would have had a goal, it would have had objectives, it would have had leadership. It was people angry in different sectors. The diaspora was angry, youth were angry, women were angry with the healthcare system, campus students were angry with the cost of higher learning. So everybody was angry in their own way.
Okay.
And when people are angry in a room, everybody shouts and nobody ever listens to the other. So when everybody is shouting, nobody will listen to any other person. It is now that the cloud has cleared. Now leaders will emerge. The question is, what are we doing as young people to not just be voters, but be the change that we want to see? Because even if we keep talking and keep talking and keep talking, then at the end of the day, the post that we post on our social media is of an 80-year-old, a 70-year-old who has been in the system, and we are trusting them to bring us change. But we are not willing to be members of parliament. We are not willing to be senators. We are not willing to be MCAs. Morara is in the room, and he has a political party. What are you doing to link up with him so that you make sure that these tickets that are going to come for members of parliament and MCA, you don't lack a ticket as a young person? Because that's one of the things he can do.
In the best interest of time, we'll come back to my question later. Victor Musyoka says, my question goes to Casmuel. Is joining Raila a solution to Gen Z or benefiting himself and his political ambition? Victor, student from Murang'a University. Denzel goes ahead to ask, my question goes to Murara. You have been exposing stalled projects, scandals in projects. Is it good for us to at least meet someone who has been arrested, charged for stealing public funds, impeached for? As goes ahead to say misconduct, gross misconduct. Does this vindicate those who say you have a master? Or perhaps maybe to mean the ones now that you're talking with, are they as good in as much as they've also had concerns in relation to their credentials and their credibility? But we come to you, Casmuel. I hope you remember your question.
Yes, very clear. First, comrades, thank you very much. I think it is a very important role that you're playing, and do not for one moment lose sight of what your goal is, because all of you are student leaders and you're going to be seated here. But also special props to James Mlamba. I think I know him from Bunge la Mwananchi.
James, is it so?
Have I seen you? Yes, yes, but I've met him in Bunge, and I think some of the people who you should avail more opportunities to also communicate in the interview rooms are people like James. But then to just go through this thing, James asks a very interesting question, and he poses it to us on the table. And I think here, Morara, I will say that you're being dishonest. You're not being a man of integrity. The first time I am seen with, for example, President William Ruto, you were the first person to cry on your social media page and say, "Oh, Casmuel, oh my." I remember I saw it. It was a lamentation. It was like a jilted lover. Yeah, just let me just. Oh no. Let me now talk about like.
Okay, now
I've been seeing so many politicians. It's so many, but he went on a whole tirade and said, "Are these not the same people who killed us? Why are you dining with them? Kama ingekuwa biashara si ungetuambia tukuchangie." And then now you want to tell us that it is a transformative idea. You suddenly have this rather transformative idea that meeting Rigathi Gachagua is part of the change. And he sits down and he tells us they are consulting on how to sort corruption. They are consulting on how to sort youth unemployment. And remember, Rigathi Gachagua did not say a damn thing. And this is the thing where we have to be entirely honest. And if we're going to use a scale of morality, and this is back to the People's Court, if we are going to use a scale of morality, let it be just. Because now you hear Morara, he's making my work so easy because he's starting to say the things that I have been saying, but he has been calling me a briefcase carrier. He has been saying, oh, me joining the Right Honorable Raila Odinga was a wrong decision. Now he comes and he tells us that he's joining Rigathi because Rigathi has 4 million, a voter block of 4 million. What prevents me from making this argument that Raila Amolo Odinga's voter base remains largely untouched because he did not get the Mlima votes? Then, let's say William Samoei Ruto has lost Mlima. If I combine these two, if you now want to talk about numbers, who has more numbers?
And I hope this is response to his question.
It is because he asked me a very direct question about the thing. And this is why I keep on saying that we have to come to the table of equity equitably. And I go ahead and say the reason why I also castigate this thing, we have to be absolutely fair that we cannot think that that Rigathi Gachagua will be our savior while you're joining a man who, immediately after your meeting, the next thing he says the next day is that Gema will rule Kenya for 100 years. But you want to tell me that you have a problem with identity politics. Now, going back to this to his question, because he asks, then did you ride on the fame of the wave? It has been a rocky journey for me because there have been several mishaps, and if you've been tracking, every 2 weeks I get cancelled. Every 2 weeks I would get cancelled. By the time it's getting to Rigathi Gachagua's impeachment, that was, I think, the last straw on the camel's back, and I said, this journey has to go on. I would have chosen to give up. I would have chosen to now stay at home and say, okay, fine, it's over. But I believe that there's a great work that is to be done. And it's not done by pulling each other down, because I would have done the thing which Morara did to me when I was doing these moves. I would have typed a whole essay and told him, these are the ills of Rigathi Gachagua, these are the ills of Martha Karua, these are the ills of all these people you're surrounding yourself with. But I totally understand that if you involve yourself in the political processes, it cannot be that it's okay for you to involve yourself in certain processes, but it's not okay for other people. Be that as it may. As young people, we are not limited to these existing options. That's the thing which I want us to disabuse ourselves, because we might end up reducing a very potent conversation to these options. I am just but one person. I totally believe that Chama Kubwa will bring the liberation. Okay. But if you think that the liberation will not be found in Chama Kubwa, as Mwalimu Nyerere says, kama wananchi wa Tanzania hawatayapata mabadiliko hapa katika Chama cha Mapinduzi, wananchi wataenda kuyatafuta mabadiliko hayo kwingine. You are free to keep on caucusing and keep on mobilizing and organizing to ensure that in whatever vehicle you find yourself in, you find yourself at the decision-making table. Because trust me, it is we, these young people here that you see, are the ones who, in 2024, were the biggest political players. Is this to admit that we would say the social media space is not as ripe enough? No, it is ripe. Let us not reduce. Social media is what has brought us here. But social media is what makes these people have the questions that how do we take then the politics out of social media to now what it is that you're talking about? But they've taken it. Okay. These questions that we are being asked, when they're asking us on social media. But you see, that's a question. Social media. And sometimes we have this misconception that social media is this different animal and the ground is this different animal.
Okay.
Who's using
pretty
those
much
accounts?
the same.
It is, and we are tending to reduce the gap. And that's why I'm very keen specifically on trying to talk to each other and not at each other. Because eventually we will still go home. You still have the same needs. We're still going the same road. If we can give someone a lift, we'll still go the same road. Why then can we not find a common ground? That's why I keep on saying, even here within Chama Kubwa, there are so many young people.
Okay.
And let me tell you,
you want to respond, really? Why don't you save that response for another day?
Just a moment.
I
have to.
Because there is going to be a back and forth.
Yes, just a moment.
It's really not healthy for the
Yes. Let me finish.
Oh, you will.
Let me finish.
Make it 30 seconds.
Yes. There has been no advantage taken because nobody has monopoly of the streets. I protested a lot against the lockdown. It's just that I was not famous back then. Fungua Nchi, I'm the one who led that Fungua Nchi campaign. Tulipigwa vibaya sana, and in a week, the lockdown was lifted. I was going to newsrooms and they were saying, oh, so you young people, it's the same question they keep on asking. What's the plan?
All right.
I think this was just, it was a timing thing.
The comrades
I found myself in the limelight. Therefore, in joining Chama Kubwa, I find myself with the comfort of camaraderie and with a vehicle that has consistently associated itself with doing good.
Okay,
you don't find Raila Odinga saying Luos are going to rule the country for 100 years. Yes, consistently you hear him say, we want a fight against police brutality, we want compensation of young people. Consistently,
that is okay. That is okay. 30 seconds.
Let me just say this.
Comrades, be ready. We're coming to you.
The business of leadership, as I've come to learn, is a never-ending school of education. Like, you are always learning new things. As at the time I told him this, my perception or my perspective of leadership in Kenya and what the problem is, was that the problem of Kenya is bad leaders. As at that point, I understood that the problem of Kenya is bad leaders. If we get good leaders, we are okay. But over time, as I do civic education, as I travel around the country, as I meet people, as I participate in politics, as I form a party, as I work with people in the party, I realized that actually the Kenyan problem is beyond leaders. Leaders are a symptom of the problem. Now, Ruto is a problem, a real one.
Okay.
But he is a symptom and a result of a failed system encouraged by citizens who are, disenfranchised, poor, and who lack civic education. Because if you look at this country as it is now, and I've said this, and let me just repeat it again. There are people in this country who know what these leaders have done, but they don't mind voting for them. Again and again. So then the question is, for you, a young person who wants to go into leadership and transform the nation, what does it serve you for you to not enter into the room and take over the room?
Fair enough.
Because people sometimes think that we go into the room to carry the briefcase for the leaders. Sometimes we walk into the room to take over the room so that young people, we can kick the door open for other young people to come in. Now, this assumption that if you are seen with so-and-so, then their values have rubbed on you, what I can say is that values and principles in leadership is a personal choice.
Okay.
It is possible to walk with thieves and not steal.
Fair enough. All right. We come to you, ladies and gentlemen. Advance the conversation. Let's not now pose questions to them, but perhaps speak as to how we can effectively utilize the social media, have the best of strategies so that we can advance the agenda of politics therein and, make sure that this is politics that is going to be healthy in terms of giving us a better nation.
Yes, Thank you very much. I don't know if you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can.
Yes, I want to start by first saying that the credit does not belong to the critique, to the man who points out where strong man fumbles.
Okay.
The actual credit belongs to the actual man in the ring, who fights valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who at best, if he wins, at least knows the triumph of achievement.
Okay.
And if at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. So, so that his place shall never be with those timid cold souls who neither know victory nor defeat. So, starting with high note, I want to first of all say that I am proud of this gentleman before us. for the work they've done. That is why they are questioned today. And it is because of the same that I wanted to pose first to Omwansa, a good friend that
You still want to ask a question? We don't have
to
time.
clarify just a point that he said, to emphasize on it. That democracy, freedom and democracy is only achieved when people are brave enough to defend it.
Let's have the mic.
So when we understand that concept, and also Morara Kebaso, that bad company ruins good morals. One of the main reasons why we came out to protest on those issues is because of the tribal aspect that is in them. When you come out in support of the movement, while in else being in the same category over the same issues, that he preaches them every day in every opportunity that he gets to speak, including through telephone, as we've seen it in the recent burial that was here. So the issue is that when we use this space, it is because of these spaces, these online spaces, that you guys have this opportunity to be here. And I do agree also with one point that you've said it clearly, that change, it's called the Master of Whisperers, if you guys have watched GOT, Game of Thrones. He says that states and nations are never saved by a savior, because if you wait for a savior, it will never arrive. It is when only talents are prioritized and those who are most suitable are given on the basis of merit. And on the same is that the fact that Omwansa has switched sides, I believe there are probably two reasons. Either alipitishwa ile mahali, or maybe he was alilambishwa kitu. I hope it is the second one, because the other one is very unfortunate.
All right, fair enough.
So just to conclude on the same.
We have to close.
Yes, I'm just concluding. I agree with Morara's idea that we have to take change from inside, from within. And because of the same, it is the fact that partly me and some group, we are also organizing something with Omwansa for a member of parliament. And we expect support from these gentlemen here, so that when the due day comes and when it is the time for transformation, it does not become now the issues of political party.
Okay, fair enough.
So, yes, thank you.
All right, you can go.
We'll support you.
Joyce Lecton from Park University. I am really agreeing with Morara, what he said about the civic education, and that's where we go wrong. Using social media, not everybody has social media, especially in the rural, and those are the people who actually vote.
Okay.
So what we do as a country, as Kenyan, as a Gen Z, we go back home, teach our people the goodness of voting, not just sitting here in social media and rant. I'll also tell you, Morara, we don't have to fight now, back and forth. What we are going to do is us now focus on the positive and the good impact we use on social media. We don't have to sit always and say, Ruto did that, that's not going to help us. Raila did that, that's not going to help us. It's about time now we go back home everywhere and preach the goodness of voting. It's very, very good. Us backlash, all that, it's not going to help us. We are just insinuating negative, rajua mambo tu mbaya mbaya hapa na pale. That's not what we want. We want change. We want good things to happen to Kenya. We want to tell people to vote, no tribalism. We are all Kenyans, and that's how we want to do it.
And I hope they get to here. All right, pretty much fast, because then time is extremely out of work.
Yeah, my name is Rachel Jomo, a student leader from the University of Nairobi, and I want to congratulate the both of you. Given the same opportunity, I'll put myself in front.
Okay.
And my only concern
welcome to government.
Thank you. And by the way, you look so good in that suit.
Thank you. Good one,
my only concern is now that you're talking about social media and politics. We are the generation. The future is now. What are you doing? What if you use social media to bring Gen Zs together? We can't be in the same team, all of us. It's okay, you're in whichever team you are. It's okay, you're in whichever team you are. But what if we work as the Gen Zs? Morara, you tell us, oh, I have this project here, nani yako around, I'm having these vehicles, let's go and do this in this county. Kasamuel unatuambia, tuendeni hapa KNH, tuendeni wapi, let's just work. We can't be in the same place.
Beautiful.
Let's just be united.
Okay. A very good way to sum it up. Gentlemen, in 30 seconds as we close. We have to close, unfortunately. Time is extremely out of our sight. 30 seconds.
Yeah, just
Okay, thank you. My name is Colin Sonondi from the University of Nairobi. I'm still a student. My comment is that social media sometimes can be unfair to the government because you find that sometimes government have planned project, but it can get opposition from people who are not even in the country. And the other side is that it gives us democracy to express our views and to keep government accountable.
Right.
So my advice to my fellow youths is that let us not consume the information about politics in social media directly.
Okay.
Let us do research so that we have facts that are correct. Thank you.
All right. And of course, we restrict our final comments to social media and politics. Morara.
First, to be grateful for our followers on social media who interact with our content, who are always commenting, and who help us get the message out there, who share our content. And to say that I, as Morara Kebaso, have already been given that voice by the youth to be their man in the door. And as long as I'm in the door, the youth should look up to me as someone who can actually put their agenda on the table and ensure that the youth are not just on the menu to be eaten, but now they are on the table to share in the resources of our country. As we move forward, I believe that we need to have more engagement with more young leaders and youth so that we draft our agendas, the Gen Zs, where we want to go and how we will get there.
Okay.
We should not enjoy fighting too much because sometimes it only makes it important for dramatic value, but at the end of the day, it doesn't inspire confidence in the people that want to trust us. But also to remind everybody to register as a voter, to ensure kwamba uko na kitambulisho, you register as a voter because hiyo ndio silaha yako. And finally, young people, don't think about money or money being an obstacle towards governance. Present yourselves to be members of parliament, present yourselves to be members of county assembly, present yourselves to be senators. And if and when you get that opportunity, please ensure that you become a leader of integrity so that you open doors for other young people to also be trusted with leadership.
Thank you. Kasmal.
Thanks for having us, and thank you yet again, the people, for the insightful engagements. I hope that this will be the trend going on. I would want to see more of you guys being on this side. So please, whichever way we can work together, whichever way, and let's use this as networking, because we are going to be the determining factor in 2027. It starts here. It does not matter which chama you are. Of course, I have a bias towards chama kubwa. I'll tell you, please join the ODM Youth League and come help us revamp it. But be it as it may, we must be the key decision makers. And not, for me, I'm not even thinking about it as your representative. I want all of you to come so that all of us can be at that table.
Okay.
That table is more impactful if all of us are there. But then also remember that let us be very careful that especially on the social spaces, in fighting this monster, whatever behemoth we think it is, let's be very careful not to turn into it. Because you've seen there's an abuse of democratic processes where we've turned into the very, very same tyrants. We've forgotten to isolate the man from the office. We want to mete out,
as we close,
we want to mete out the exact same kind of violence to people who are already experiencing systemic violence. So let's do this together, because I believe we are the ones who are going to deliver this country, especially come this next election cycle.
All right, Omansa.
Thank you so much. As a student leader for all universities and colleges in Nairobi region, I have done much. I've done much. Every day, day by day, I always support comrades from all walks in and out of Nairobi. That's one of the things that we are doing to ensure that we support the livelihood of all of our students. So, and I want to send this message to the President. President, we are giving you, we want to give you a peaceful time so that you can deliver for us as young people of this country. We are not here to fight you. Ignore the rumors. You have heard how people are being paid on social media to heckle you, to say bad things about you. But Bwana President, sisi tuko nyuma yako as the Youth Presidential Delivery Unit. We support you up to 2027 na tutakuongeza 10 bila break. Hakuna kutoroka. We support you sana, Bwana President.
What happened to the Constitution? Kumi namna gani
That is
tena?
according to me.
All right,
That's
thank you so
according
much.
to me.
Mwansa
Support you, Bwana President. Kumi bila break.
Mwansa, political
Kumi bila
science
break.
graduate, as well as Kasmuel Makoure, one of the leaders that is under the ODM Youth League, and of course, none other than Murara Kebasu, lawyer and civic educator. Asanteni sana. Ladies and gentlemen, I know we all did not get the chance to speak, but I hope that we advance and we continue with this conversation. And when we invite you, that you would be happy to join us again. Next time, we'll play around with time vizuri sana so that we can all have that opportunity. Otherwise, we appreciate your presence right here and the immense feedback that we get from the people who are watching us back at home. We say asante sana. The conversation is bigger than the time that we had. But situipeleke pale social media tuendelee. Silio, we have no choice. Thank you so much. My name is Linda Alela. It was great having you. I appreciate the entire team for making this a success. We look forward to see you again on Tuesday. Do have yourself a lovely night. Goodbye.